I moved to England when I was 18.
Oh no, and they didn't have any?
Oh my gosh. And it's like, you know, the chili roasting season, you crave that.
Yeah.
I'm like, I need the smell.
I've been an investor almost my entire life. I started with a mutual fund when I was 18 years old. Then I started investing in growth stocks. I was within a year of starting my real estate investment journey in Florida over 20 years ago, when I was laid off, then divorced. Not the greatest time to invest in real estate, so I moved back to Farmington. I dabbled in stocks again not long after, but got burned by the 2008 financial crisis. I began anew in 2020 because the market crash was way too good an opportunity to pass up. I've learned a lot over the years and now I have a winning portfolio, but I still want to get into real estate investing. I'm on my way to pick up Leah Thomas. She's a broker with R1 New Mexico and we're going to talk real estate. The last few years have been a roller coaster ride with real estate, and I want to know what Leah's thoughts are on the market today. She might even have some funny stories to tell. Want to see how it goes?
Come along for the ride in Ken's Think Tank. Ken's Think Tank is made possible by the following sponsors.
Ken Collins Marketing. It's simple. We help small business owners get more customers. Show our sponsors some love. If you're watching the video, show us some love by smashing the like button. And remember, the views and opinions expressed on Ken's Think Tank do not necessarily reflect those of our sponsors.
Is it Leah or Leah?
It doesn't matter. When I lived in England, they pronounced it Leah.
Yeah.
Just don't call me late for supper.
Right. We're heading into downtown. I actually just picked you up a few minutes ago from your office, which is, it's R1, but it's more than that. What is it?
It's R1 New Mexico, Farmington.
Okay.
And if you were in Albuquerque or other parts of the state, you would know it as Realty One.
Realty One, okay.
And they're the largest New Mexican-owned brokerage in our state. And they were started by a gentleman who watched his mom hustle in real estate. And then she didn't have a lot when she got to the end of her life. And so he wanted to change that for realtors. And then they built this business model where their fees are pretty low. And so they made it where it's easy to afford to be a realtor. And then you can turn around and take, the rest of what you would be paying to a brokerage and put that back into your business and your personal life.
Okay.
And for me, like the first year that I made the switch, I was able to help my daughter buy a car, because I had that extra and put it into my marketing and things like that. So for me, it was a huge, huge opportunity right away.
Real estate it's been a roller coaster for the last going on 3 years now.
Oh my goodness. It's been quite a ride for sure. 2019 was okay,
Right.
And then the beginning of 2020 was pretty great.
Yeah.
And then 2020 was an absolute roller coaster where,
where it was famine and then just going absolutely insane.
Absolutely.
Yeah, those two.
And it's carried on. 2021 was pretty wild, and 2022 was, it had some stabilization, which was so good.
Yeah.
Because that's really what we needed was, we needed to slow down where we didn't have 15 buyers for every property.
Right.
That was so stressful. Okay, how are we going to make our offer strong? Well, would you like a dog? And we'll, I'll clean the floors. Like, how do we structure this deal where it's going to work for everybody?
Right. Right.
And we did some pretty great business. And I would say one of the things I'm most thankful about is our real estate community here in the Four Corners.
Right.
We have some really amazing people who are not just at our brokerage, but at other brokerages too. Like, they're people of integrity who really want to do good business and want to elevate the real estate scene. And that makes it much more easy to navigate the last 3 years that we've had.
I have several friends who are realtors here locally, and so there's some really great people, and they're spread all over. It seemed like the elements of the real estate industry were kind of calming down towards the end of the year, which is not completely uncommon, just being that it's winter.
Right.
And that's a little bit of an annual norm. It seems like it's just kind of in this weird flux where, is it gonna be really horrible year going forward, or is it gonna be really great?
Right.
So is inventory gonna open up and there's gonna be more houses on the market? Or are interest rates gonna start coming back down? Like, there's so many elements to this thing. It's just so complicated.
It is. And for me, it's part of the reason why it helps that I'm an information junkie. Because you go to those specialists who do this for a living, you know?
Yeah.
While nobody has a crystal ball,
right.
You know, they look at the trends and, you know, kind of give us an overview. I think the biggest thing is to kind of figure out what's the right thing for you, you know?
Yeah.
Do you need to sell? Do you need to buy? What does that look like for you? Because, you know, just like people 4 years ago who were thinking of waiting, you know, the right time to buy, if you need to buy it, is now, you know, because look at the amount of equity that they would have had, you know, at this stage. We're still expecting people to gain equity, not quite at the, you know, 30% that people were seeing in the past, which is part of that stabilization. But I would say probably closer to what would be more of a norm, closer to, you know, between probably 6 and 9%. I think the biggest thing we're going to have to see that's going to help with that is, at least in our area for sure, is additional inventory. Part of that's going to help is the spring market. You know, we would normally see an uptick in properties that are listed. I would say, you know, based on people that I've talked to, for sale by owners, people who are getting ready to list their properties, there is an expectation that they're waiting for the spring. You know, I would definitely expect that. The other thing is, especially in our area, we flat out need builders to come in and build. You know, every builder that I've talked to that we're trying to help our clients build property, they're a year out. You know, and so we've talked to a couple of different builders outside the area about coming in and flat out helping with that, because and that will help bring the property prices down. The first time home buyer price range when I first started in 2014 was around 150, and now it's elevated to 250.
In this area?
In this area.
There are several other ways Farmington lags the rest of the country a bit. In good stuff and in bad stuff. So when bad stuff is happening, it takes longer for it to catch hold here.
It does, yeah.
When good stuff is happening, it takes longer for it to catch hold here. Real estate's a little bit weird though. You know, it's so different from different areas of the country. So, but there's kind of a trend. Do you think that we'll again lag that trend? I
think we will. Like you said, we're always kind of in our own little bubble. And we're usually between 6 months to a year behind the rest of the country. I think some of it has been, you know, we're a little bit insulated because of our industry. I think we're going to see a softer landing than other parts of the country. Partially because of the investments that different organizations have made in our area. I think there's going to be an offset to that. The different people in our area, I think, have gone really hard to try and help offset that. So I don't think we're going to have the same landing that the rest of the country might have. The other side of it too is, you know, the housing bubble that people saw, that we saw in 2008, 2009, was built on different things, and the federal government has highly regulated those, the lending industry, which is what that housing bubble was built on. And the housing issue that we're seeing now is based on low inventory and not on lending practices. And so that's part of the huge difference, and I think really would speak a lot to maybe people's fear factor. You know, that we're not going to see that same huge
The
burst
whole
and
market
problem.
is not just going to come
It's
crashing
not.
down.
Yeah, it's really not. Even when people work on the inventory problem, it's going to have a slower correction and a slower stabilization
Right.
than the bubble bursting because of lending practices.
Right.
Where I think people were maybe getting loans that didn't have any business having loans that high.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Because there were maybe no requirements or less requirements to prove that income that they could repay it.
Right.
You know? Definitely some different practices in place nowadays, which I'm really thankful for. And I know sometimes some of my buyers are like, you know, the lender's asking for this and I've already provided it, but now they're asking for an updated one. Why? You know? And it's partially because of that. And it's really a safety practice, you know, to help people and so that they know, you know, this is your true story and you can actually afford this house.
Right.
And this is the proof of it.
Right.
We had a gentleman last summer or the summer before. On paper, you know, he didn't make very much money, but that's how he managed his taxes or whatever.
Right.
But he was able to show in his bank account that he actually did make enough to buy a house.
Yeah.
And so not every lender does that particular loan program,
Right.
but there are lenders out there. So that's what I'm always like, if you're thinking about buying a home, let's get you with a lender as step one, so that they can help you figure out where your best option is and what your options are. And if there's a couple of things that you can tweak to get to your best next step, you know, there are some really great lenders in our area that will help you figure out what that looks like.
Right.
Wow, they've gotten really far.
I know.
That's incredible.
It's crazy. We're looking at the Mormon temple, the new temple.
I don't drive this way very often, but they've built really fast.
I
It looks
live right
great.
down here, so we can actually look right out the front window over the kitchen sink and see it between the houses. We can
Oh
see
man,
the progress. Yeah.
that would be really neat to see it coming up.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what it looks like when it's done.
Me too. Because I'm a straight line person, and so I'm like, oh, they put that tilted.
Yeah. So, did you say that you had some crazy stories?
Oh my gosh. So I went around to my group this week when I was figuring out that we were going to do this.
Yeah.
And I was like, tell me your funny stories about stuff that's happened to you that you'd be okay sharing. And so one of the first ones, it actually happened to me and a realtor that I was working with at the time. We had scheduled this open house in this really beautiful house and gotten all the signs put up, it was all advertised, marketed everywhere. So we knew people were going to come. And got to the house and knocked on the door. Nobody answered. The seller's car was there, so we knew that they were there. So we're going on, we let ourselves in, turning on the lights, you know, opening window shades and getting ready for the open house. And come to find out that the seller was actually had completely forgotten about the open house. Yeah. And they were on the back patio, buck naked, sunbathing. And I'm just like,
it's a showing, right?
Right. Hopefully not that kind of showing. Oh my gosh. I'm like, what do you do at that point, you know?
Right.
Because you know people are going to come. Oh my gosh. And it's one of those, like, they're embarrassed, you're embarrassed, you don't know what to do, and it's not in the manual, like, what do you do in this scenario? It's so wild.
Oh my goodness.
One of my associate brokers, she was driving to a showing, and she ended up getting pulled over, and I don't remember if she got a ticket or not, but then she went on to the showing. Then the next day, she was showing a new buyer some different property, and she showed up, and it was the cop that had pulled her over the day before, and he was there in his cop car, and she was like, wait,
are you
here to see the house? Are you, yeah. Oh my goodness. I had gone to another showing. The seller had forgotten that we had a showing scheduled, and so came in, showed the house, got to the kitchen, and the seller was in the kitchen making himself a sandwich in his boxer shorts. And it's one of those, like, you know, and the buyer got really embarrassed and left, and I'm like, pause. It's just not in the manual, you know?
That's one of those, I guess that's where your industry crosses over into that area, right? Where you're in your home, you're just doing your thing.
Right,
You're just all out and ugly. and because you're in your home, and then your realtor comes walking in because you've scheduled something with them,
right?
And they're bringing people into your house, and you're just there, all hanging out and ugly.
Oh my gosh! Oh, and it's just like, you know, in certain markets, like you got to still show the house, you know.
Right.
If they don't see it, they might miss it, you know.
Right.
And so it's like, go put a bathrobe on. Well,
Oh no!
it's so wild. But you forget and you leave stuff out, you know.
Yeah.
And you don't know when you leave that day if you're going to get a showing or not.
Right.
You know. And so, one of my associate brokers said that she was going through the house and there was a used condom hanging on the shower curtain. And she's just like, she looked at it and she like walked on, and then she heard her buyers laughing, and she was like, she didn't know, you know, if that's what they were laughing about.
Right.
Oh my gosh. I try not to walk through with clients. I try to walk ahead of them.
Yeah.
So that I can
Scope it
preemptively,
first.
like, yeah. There was this one showing, and
Take the underwear off the lampshade.
oh my gosh, yeah. This lady was very proud of her body and had nude pictures of herself all over her bedroom.
Right.
You know, and I'm like, I'm just laying these down. So, I don't know, man. They just don't prepare you for that, you know? I'm like, it's not something you think you're going to see. It's pretty wild.
Depending on the buyer, that might be a selling point.
Right?
Do these pictures come with the house?
Right? Can we write them into the offer?
Right.
It's so funny. I don't know, some of the weirdest things I've written into offer. I've written chickens into the offer.
Have you?
You know, they wanted
from the buyer?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
okay.
They wanted to buy the 36 acres of farmland with the house,
Yeah.
and then they wanted all the chickens.
Yeah, leave the chickens.
Yeah, and the seller was great with it because he was moving somewhere tropical. So
Yeah.
what was he going to do with the chickens? You know,
Right.
We've written llamas into offers. The sky's really the limit, you know. And people are always like, "Can we do this?" And I'm like, "Let's see what happens." You know, you never know. I know we have a running list of things in our office. Things that you don't think you would ever hear in real estate. And
Yeah.
the top of the list is, good news, it's not meth, it's only heroin.
That's great news.
It's the best. It was actually really, really good news. I had taken my daughter to Disneyland for her 19th birthday.
Yeah.
And I'm in the middle of California Adventure, and my admin calls, and she's like, just completely distressed. And we had a property under contract that we had the buyer, and the seller had a tenant, and we had scheduled inspections. And when we got there, the tenant wouldn't let anybody into the master suite. Did the whole rest of the apartment got or townhome had the inspections. They wouldn't let anybody into the master suite. Well,
Yeah.
finally they let the smoke remediation guy, because they had smoked in the property, and so we needed an estimate to see how much
Okay.
that would cost. Finally they let the smoke remediation guy into the master suite, and he comes out and he's like, they're making meth in there, they're filming porn. Like, I know. And not the things you want to hear on your inspection.
Right.
So at this point we stop, and the buyer leaves, and we're trying to see if we're going to stay under contract or what, but we need to now navigate, like, because if it was meth, we would have to have a forensic cleaning and blah,
Right.
blah, blah, all the things. Costly, you know, definitely add to the cost.
Right.
So fast forward to a couple days later, and we get it all looked at, and the listing broker calls me, good news, it's only heroin. So whenever we have a transaction that we've got some speed bumps along the way, that's what we tell them. It's okay, good news, it's only heroin.
It's only heroin. Don't worry about it.
Things you don't think you're gonna say. Good news, it's only heroin.
Well, that was fun.
It was so fun.
Now
Thanks
I
for
know where
having
your
me.
office is. Oh, I'm right in front of it this time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, now I know where your office is.
Yeah, this is us. We are usually here. We do a lot of training, and we always have the coffee on. So, you know, anybody has any questions about, you know, real estate or investing, you know, we're here. And we always have the coffee on, so we're always ready for a good conversation.
So I could just use that as a rouge to get free coffee.
I mean, you could, and I'm going to tell on us a little. I like to buy the coffee from Oso Grande
Yeah.
and just brew
It's
it here.
People who don't know, that's a local coffee shop here.
It's an amazing local
Yeah.
coffee shop.
Yeah.
They have really good coffee. They're
Yeah.
on San Juan Boulevard.
Yep, they are. Yeah.
It's good, and we have it here too. So
Of course, my sponsor is Durango Joe's, so
well,
we'll talk about them too. So
Durango
there
Joe's
they
is
are.
awesome, and they have really good coffee too.
Yeah.
So it's good.
There's several around town, local coffee owners. They're just great people with great shops, and they're all
They
different.
are.
And
Yeah.
so you can find one to match your personality and all
Right.
that. So yeah.
Yeah. Oso is a drive-through, and that's the speed of my life. So
Right.
always on the go, always on the phone.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much
Hey,
for
thank you so much for
driving
your
with
time.
me, riding
Yeah,
with me.
absolutely. It was my
yeah.
pleasure.
Yeah. I got to geek out a little bit and talk real estate.
Whoop, whoop.
I'm extremely far from an expert, but I pick up little bits of information here and there. And
Yeah.
I like
yeah.
to stay kind of in tune to the investment world, and that's one of them. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Well, anytime you want info, this is what we do. So,
All right. So next time I need a cup of coffee, I'll come down here and
Come
geek out a
on
little
over.
bit about real estate.
yeah, we'll get your stats and data.
Some
And,
coffee.
right? Absolutely.
Well, cool. Thank you
Thank you so much.
Ken's Think Tank is made possible with help from these fine sponsors. Basin Home Health and Hospice, keeping you healthy, happy, and home since 1992. Durango Joe's, with a smile, a warm greeting, and a great cup of coffee.